All right, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to update the incidents from last night in Queens, in the arrest in the 113 precinct, as well as another major arrest in transit. So those will be the two cases we'll be talking about, and we're going to start with the Honorable Mayor Eric Adams.
Thank you so much. And I just really want to thank the men and women of the New York City Police Department. We have continued to make New York City the safest big city in America. 2023 showed that we had a substantial decrease in homicides and shootings in 5 of the major 7 crime categories. But when you have a chilling incident as a person who chooses to randomly assault and stab individuals not only on our streets but also on the subway system, it just sends the wrong message to New Yorkers that use our subway systems and who live in the various communities of the city. I know that area in Rochdale very well. I grew up in that community, and so I was alarmed, and I communicated with the speaker, who also grew up in that community, and told her we were going to have a full deployment of personnel to apprehend the person that's involved. And 22 hours later, we were able to bring that person to justice. And also this morning, we were able to apprehend the second pattern that involved stabbing on our subway system. Chief Kemper will go over that. We're standing here as the executive of the city and the leaders of the police department, but the real credit goes out to the men and women knocking on doors, probably 1,000 interviews and interaction with New Yorkers, the tip hotlines from New Yorkers who saw the photos that went out to assist us, and then the men and women who just walked the streets. These officers and detectives, the chief of detectives should really be commended how his troops went out and interviewed people and really did just good old-fashioned police work to bring this suspect to justice. He attacked 6 individuals. It didn't appear as though he was looking to stop anytime soon, and thank God we have no one that lost his or her life because of this incident, but it did send real fears throughout our entire city. So it was crucial that we apprehended and brought him to justice. Job well done by the police department, the detectives, and job well done by New Yorkers, the close to 1,000 people we communicated with to ask for their help in bringing this person to justice. I want to turn it over to the police commissioner of the city of New York, Edward Caban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, everyone. So last night we reached out to New Yorkers to amplify a very important public safety message. Our city is being threatened by random, unmotivated violence. And today, just hours later, we are pleased to say that this particular threat is ended. A violent criminals off our streets because of good old-fashioned police work. And as we said yesterday, personnel from the Detective Bureau, Patrol, Special Operations, Transit, Community Affairs, and more will all work in this case. And on top of that, the more than 8 million New Yorkers were acting as our eyes and ears. Ultimately, it came down to basic detective work. Chasing down leads, knocking on doors. It was about walking through neighborhoods and talking to people, interviewing witnesses, and canvassing video. And through it all, we remained focused on one thing: ending this threat. And now this man is in custody. We will go about the work of getting justice for his victims, and we will continue the work of keeping every person we serve safe. I also want to commend the men and women of the NYPD who did their job so well in this case. Every day they prove to the world that they're the very best at what they do. And I want to thank you, the public, for working with us so closely during this investigation. New Yorkers came together. We all did our part. And today, because of that, our city is safer. I will now turn it over to our Chief Detectives, Joe Kenny.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'm basically going to briefly discuss the apprehension of this individual. So the Detective Bureau had an immediate response to these incidents. We utilized all assets available. For the incidents that occurred in Queens, we used the 103 and 113 squad, the Queens South Homicide Squad, 2 detectives from every squad assigned to Queens South, the Queens South Video Collection Team, the Gun Violence Suppression Division, and the Queens Transit Crime Squad. For the Brooklyn incident, we utilized the 8-3 and 9-0 detective squads, the Brooklyn North Homicide Squad, the Brooklyn Transit Crime Squad, the Brooklyn North Video Collection Squad, and the Crime Stopper Tip Team. These detectives were tasked for one thing and one thing only, to go door to door, store to store, interviewing people and interacting with the public. In an attempt to locate witnesses and find sources of video to identify this subject, they distributed wanted posters to every member of the community they interacted with. Locations that were visited included the Rochdale Village apartment complex, the Baisley housing development, all residences located near the vicinity of the crime, all commercial locations located in the vicinity of the crime, including the Guy Brewer corridor and the businesses located on Broadway in Brooklyn. All shelters and temporary housing facilities were visited, and transit hubs located at Sutton and Archer, Parsons and Archer, and Broadway Junction were also visited by our detectives. These efforts were rewarded. At approximately 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, a community member allowed detectives access to their video system. Detectives were able to view a male fitting the description provided by several victims entering and exiting 133-19160 Street. Surveillance was immediately set up at this location, and detectives were able to locate a subject when he returned home. The male was wearing the same clothing and sneakers from the stabbing incidents. He was also carrying the same backpack, and he was also wearing that distinctive lanyard around his neck. He is identified as Jermaine Rigor, male, 27 years old, with a date of birth of 12/21/1996. He resides at 133-19-160 Street. He has no prior arrest history. He is currently charged with the four incidents that occurred in Queens. We are still working on the incident that occurred in Brooklyn. His charges in Queens include attempted murder, felony assault, and criminal possession of a weapon. Chief Kemper now will speak about the additional incidents that occurred in Midtown North and in the Bronx.
Thank you, Joe. So I'll talk about 2 stabbing incidents that occurred yesterday, one in the Bronx, one in Manhattan, both in transit. These 2 stabbing incidents are not connected in any way to the 6 stabbing incidents that Chief Kenny just discussed. These are separate and distinct. Nonetheless, 2 incidents where our perpetrator came upon victims and stabbed them unprovoked. The first incident occurs yesterday at about 6 o'clock in the morning on a D train in Manhattan at 59th Street and Columbus Circle, where we have a 42-year-old male victim on the train, and he's stabbed one time to his right shoulder by the perpetrator. Our second incident occurs about an hour and a half later at 7:30 a.m. On a 2 train in the Bronx at East 174th Street, where we had a 19-year-old male who was stabbed one time to his left arm while he was on the train unprovoked. Quickly after both these incidents occurred, we learned and we realized that they were linked and they were connected, and that the same individual would be responsible for both. How we came upon that was through video, and we often talk about the video in the subway system, how much there is and how valuable it is. You know, based upon collecting that video, images were distributed to all transit offices and police officers throughout the city. A large deployment plan was created, and I'll bring you to this morning at about 7:20 a.m. I'll bring you to the Bronx, and I'm going to bring you to the Bedford Park Station, where we had multiple police officers assigned to that station as part of this plan. The officers were in the station. They heard a commotion. They went to the commotion, which was on a southbound platform, and as they were approaching the platform, they saw a male run away from them. It turns out they chased this male through the station, successfully apprehended him, put him in custody, and it's the individual responsible for the 2 stabbings yesterday. He's wearing the same clothing, and it should be known that he was in possession of 2 knives when these officers chased him and apprehended him. This individual is a 27-year-old man.